It has begun to rain outside. Gets me in the mood of chai, by the way. But hey, everybody, welcome to my channel Academia. This is Vaibhav, your literature freak, and today we're going to be looking at the themes and the appropriateness of title and other things for Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Let's begin. Well, talking of the themes of this particular poem, there are two most pronounced themes. The first is death and dying, right? Death. How does the speaker embrace death? And the second is the faith in God and religion, faith in the Almighty. Well, if you talk, let me just quickly open my book, Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. If you talk of the themes of death and dying, then throughout the poem, throughout the allegory of poem, which process has been normalized? Which process has been accepted? The process of dying, the prospect of dying, right? That has been normalized. The speaker is asking his beloved ones or her beloved ones not to be sad. The poet is meditative, the poet is pensive, and is actually accepting the entire process of dying, because she or he or they knows that if that particular person has come to earth, then she or he has to go. There is no other way out. You can't drink the elixir of life and be there forever. So the person is actually accepting death as a very, very normal thing, right? And throughout the poem, there are instances, there are hints, there are imageries that hint towards the declining age, the maturing age, or rather, to be more precise, death. For instance, sunset. Sunset is what time of the day? Which is right now, currently, it is setting sun, right? It is the setting time of the day. Evening star, the star, Venus, which is visible right after sunset. Then we have, twilight. Then we have evening bell. All these are representative and suggestive of what? They are suggestive of the latter part of something. And with what is something over here? At a superficial level, it is the day, but at the more deeper level, it is life, right? The latter part of life, the declining part of life, when life is about to come to a close and is about to end. So that is being done over here. It is being accepted. Death is being accepted. So whenever you'll be asked to comment upon the theme of the particular poem, then you will, go stanza wise. There's a trick. Many people tend to confuse this, but if you go, particularly in poetry, if you go stanza wise, there are minimal chances for you to skip anything, to miss out on anything. Now, if you're asked to comment upon the theme of death and dying in Crossing the Bar by Lord Alfred Tennyson, if you decide to go stanza wise, it'll be even better. For instance, in the first stanza, you can talk of how it is sunset, an evening star, and then there's a clear call, right? And then the speaker asks the people who are there bidding farewell not to be sad. May there be no mourning of the bar when I put out to sea, right? So describe the literal meaning, describe the allegorical meaning from the first stanza, right? How the speaker is asking the people to be cheerful, to be happy, because the speaker is not being pessimistic. The speaker is being optimistic. The outlook, the approach towards the entire thing about death is very, very positive, right? It is very, very optimistic. Acceptance of death, that I have to go. And in fact, the speaker is rather very confident that she or he or they will meet the pilot. Okay, but that later. Then we have the second stanza. How is death and dying described and elaborated, manifested in the second stanza? Such a tide as moving seems asleep. You can go on to elaborate and describe what tide over here refers to. Tide is the entire experience of dying, like I've told you in the literary explanation video, right? Tide is the entire prospect of dying, the entire experience of dying, of leaving this mortal world. And it should be too full for sound and foam. So what kind of a death and departure does the speaker want? The speaker wants a very, very peaceful and composed, non-chaotic, quiet, peaceful departure, right? That is what is being told over here. When that which drew from the boundless deep turns again home, then again, the eternal home of all mortal beings, of all soul, is being defined over here. The tide is coming from eternity. The tide is coming from somewhere unknown. We don't know from where we came. We don't know who created us. We don't know how we were born. The same thing is happening over here as for the tide, right? So you can go on to explain that thing. Then the third stanza, twilight and evening bell, the death knell part that I've explained to you, right? How is evening bell a death knell? Rung 3 times. Twilight, that is almost dark. And then after that, the dark. It's all dark. Death has taken place. The speaker has to go. The soul has to depart now. And may there be no sadness or farewell when I embark. And then a particular emphasis, a little emphasis on this particular word, embark. It is not departure. It is embarking, beginning a voyage. What sort of a voyage? Voyage after death, life after death. To go and see the pilot face to face, which brings us to the last stanza. From out of the boundaries, born means boundaries of time and place. There are boundaries of time and place when we are there on earth. But once we have left this entire place, this entire physical body, when we have left that, we don't have any boundaries of time and place. The soul goes in eternity into the unknown. Unknown. We don't know what boundaries of time and space there are, or even they are. They may or may not be there, right? And then finally hope to see pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. So the speaker hopes to see the pilot, the God, face to face after dying, right? So time and again, what theme is being reiterated? The theme of death, the theme of dying, the concept of dying, the prospect of departing the world, or rather, if not departing the world, rather beginning on the life after death, right? That is all being manifested over here. You know, one thing, people confuse theme of a particular literary work with the moral of that poetry, poem or drama, something like that. Theme is not that. When we talk of theme, we basically look at, around what idea is the entire piece developed. If we are talking of crossing the bar over here, the poem, around what idea, what is the groundwork on which the entire poem is built? What is the entire thing that you can see throughout the poem, right? Or on what concept, what idea is that particular piece of literature written? That is the theme. Theme is not moral. It's never the moral. It is basically the funda, the ground on which the entire literary work is written. So one theme was that. The second theme was God and faith, right? Whenever I say God with reference to Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson, it straight away takes us to the pilot thing. I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar, right? So that is being talked of over here. God, that is the poet, or rather the speaker of the poet is very, very confident to meet the God when she or he or they die, right? The poet believes that, or rather the speaker of the poet believes that he or she has done that kind of a work. She or he has done or led a very, very self-actualized life, successful life, and a purposeful life. And now they are departing, or rather, again, embarking on the journey to go and meet their pilot face to face, to go and see God face to face, right? They came to this world with a purpose. The purpose could have been to serve the society, to be a good person, right? To lead a purposeful life. That purpose is served now. And now they have to leave and begin on the life after death. They were sent with the purpose, and once they have completed the purpose, once they have completed the task, they've got to leave and go and see the same person who has sent them. And who is that person? The pilot. The same pilot who has guided the entire journey on earth in the physical body, and the same pilot whom we will now see once we have left this physique, once we have left the physical body, So yeah, grow chronologically, go stanza wise, and you will never miss out on anything, right? So that was about the themes of the poem. You will have to elaborately describe. See, because there are not many themes in this particular poem, there are two prominent themes: death and dying, and of course God and faith. So there are two prominent themes, and you can be asked a long answer to comment upon the theme of Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So describe elaborately, take ideas from all four stanzas. Do not try to miss out on any idea. Do not try to miss out on any line which can be of relevance to your particular answer, right? If you go chronologically, if you go sequentially, you will not miss out on anything. I can vouch for that. Now, I actually decided to tell you all the metaphors, or rather all the symbols that I used in this entire poem so that you have them conciliated at one particular place, right? So let's begin right from the starting, from the title itself, crossing the bar. What is bar over here? Bar is the sandbar, the boundary between life and death. Okay, then sunset. Sunset is a symbol over here of impending death, of maturing age and impending death. Death is about to come, it will come. Evening star, which is Venus, that again over here is symbolic of the latter part, right? The latter part of the day or the latter part of life. Then again, reiterating the fact that it is impending death. Death is about to come, inevitable. One clear call for me, clear call, that is indication for death, right? One clear call for me. And then no moaning of the bar, again bar, sandbar. When I put out to sea, sea is the afterlife, right? Unknown sea, unknown speaker. But such a tide as moving seems asleep. What is tide over here? This tide is the entire prospect of dying, the entire experience of dying. And what kind of a experience that has to be? That experience has to be very, very calm and composed, as moving seems asleep, right? Oh, by the way, this is personification if you notice. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, this is a personification. How can tide move and be asleep? All these are human qualities and virtues. Tide is a non-living thing, it can't sleep. This is personification and of course alliteration. Too full for sound and form, all that is there. Boundless deep is the depth of the ocean, and of course the eternity, the unknown from where we came. Turns again home. Home over here is symbolic of the same particular place, the unknown from where all mortal beings came. Twilight and evening bell, again impending death, maturity of age, old age, right? Evening bell is the death knell, it is a symbol for death knell. After that, the dark, dark is a symbol for death. And may there be no sadness or farewell when I embark. Farewell is the goodbye of those people who love the speaker, right? And embarking is the embarking on the journey. For though from out are born of time and place, the flood may bear me far. Again, we have the flood. The flood is the same thing, which is experience of dying, the death. And I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. Again, pilot is God. So it would have been prudent if you had written down all these things. So if you haven't, go back to that particular instance from where I started telling you all the symbols and metaphors. Note them down. You never know, you can be asked in a one word question, what does this symbolize in crossing the bar? What does such and such symbol mean? What is a metaphor for such and such thing, right? You can even be asked a long answer to comment and to rather elaborate and discuss all the symbols and metaphors used in the entire poem. That is a very, very potential question, right? Teachers love that question. Comment on the symbols and metaphors used in Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So again, if you go sequentially, if you go stanza wise, you will not miss out on any symbol. And I've told you the meanings of all symbols. It's all there with you. Now let's talk about the title, Crossing the Bar. One thing must have been clear to you all by now, that crossing the bar over here is the boundary between life and death. And when we have to cross the bar, we are going from life to death, right? So that thing you will elaborate. Another thing that critics have found out is the word cross. Crossing. Christian cross is there, right? The cross of Christians on which Jesus Christ was crucified. That cross. The crossing over here has something or the other, according to critics, not my words. According to critics, crossing over here has something or the other to do with that cross as well. The cross of Christianity, Jesus Christ's, right? So crossing. And of course, this idea can be backed up by the proof of Pilate. I hope to see my Pilate face to face. Pilate is God, right? So yeah, this crossing over here is very much a reference, an indication to Christianity and to Jesus Christ. The poet is very much confident to meet the God over here. And if you don't want to go with the idea of Jesus Christ, you can, of course, there is finally Pilate is there, right? Pilate, the God, that idea is there. But critics say that crossing over here has a reference to Jesus Christ as well, right? So those two things are there. Title can also be asked in your examinations. It might not come as a very long answer, but yeah, as a 5-mark or an 8-mark question, it can obviously be there. So yeah, two things are there: crossing the bar, the sandbar thing, and of course Christianity, cross of Jesus Christ. You will take up the idea, you will bring out evidences from your poem, and you will put in your own thoughts and ideas and construct the answer. Next, I wanted to talk about the tone of the poem. What is the tone of the poem? It's a very small concept. What do you think after reading the poem the tone can be? Is the speaker happy? Is the speaker excited? Or nervous? Or scared? Or meditative? Or indifferent? Uncaring? Morose? Exuberant? Exhilarated? Well, the tone of the poem is pensive, right? Meditative, optimistic, of course. The speaker is optimistic. The speaker does not. Also, if you have noticed in the entire poem, nowhere the poet uses the word hell or torture, atrocities of hell. No, it's all I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. It's all very positive. When I embark, right? It's all very positive. So very optimistic approach to the poem is taken, and of course it is pensive, right? It is a meditative poem. It yeah, we can say that it imparts to the readers a different level of solace and serenity, normalizes death, gives people the courage to face death because it is normal, it will happen. I'm gonna die. Uh, now, before I begin with the answers, how to write the answers, I would like to discuss the cross references. And once you have the cross references with you, you are there to write the answers on your own. Well, this particular piece of poem is an allegory, as I've explained you. There are there are in fact multiple allegories in the entire literature. Not only just English literature. Throughout literature, there are multiple allegories. You can have two cross references over here. One is Animal Farm, which is a short novel by George Orwell. Animal Farm, a novella. And we have Epithalamion by Edward Spencer. Edward Spencer was an Elizabethan writer. The spelling is Epithalamion. Epi, Thalaamion. Epithalamion, something, right? That is Edward Spencer's allegory. These two can be used over here. Now, how will you use these cross references? A question can be put up to you. Discuss the allegorical significance of the poem, right? Or discuss the significant chunk of the poem, which is the allegory. So you can write that literature, you can write that literature is replete with allegories. For instance, George Orwell's Animal Farm, right? Or Edward Spencer's something. That is, a cross reference is made for you, and then you can continue with this particular piece of poem, right? Then there is this poem by Anne Bront, which is titled Farewell. Did you hear that? It was the bolt of thunder. Anne Bront's Farewell. That is a poem that talks about death only. It talks that, death should not be taken as a final goodbye. Just over here, Alfred Lord Tennyson's speaker says that this is not a goodbye. This is not something where I'm departing. Well, although I am leaving, if you look at from this side, but from this side I am coming. I am embarking on a new journey, right? That is, that is the same idea, somewhat or the other, which is used in Anne Bront's Farewell, right? So perhaps you can be posed a question that how does the particular poem, which is Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson, discuss death to be a very, very normal thing of the cycle of life and death, a very normal part. How is it being normalized and accepted? So after you've written all that, the entire poem's, gist, and you have written that how this happens and it is being normalized and all the entire essence you've put in, then you can, in a line or two, you can write that Anne Bront's Farewell also talks of the same idea, the same concept, that death should be normalized, that death should not be taken as a final farewell, right? That is there. So these three cross references are there. See, whatever answer you will write, whichever question will come to you pertaining to this particular poem, Crossing the Bar, you will have to talk about death. You will have to talk about how people tend to take death as the final thing, the last thing, as a goodbye, as a farewell. Well, of course, it is a goodbye, it is a farewell, but then again, it is beginning a new journey. It is embarking on a new journey. That thing is also there. And then you will, somewhere or the other, mention allegory, right? So that can also be there. And then I would like to discuss two questions with you before I quickly wind up this particular video. How is the poem a way? How is the poem in a way talking of return to home? I've talked about this 1,000 times. Boundless deep, the depth from where tide came. Human beings, I mean, or rather, souls came from there into this eternal body, right? Sorry, into this mortal body, and that is eternity. So going back home, but such a tide as moving seems asleep turns again home, going back home, right? So those points have to be elaborated upon with cross references, with quotations from the poem, right? Quotations have to be there. At least 5-6 quotations have to be there in an answer to make it significant. And do not misquote. Please pay attention to this. Do not misquote. If you don't know a quote, don't misquote it, right? And finally, what do you think the word Pilate refers to? God. Why does it refer to God? The capitalization of Pilate, right? The Christian reference and crossing thing. All that needs to be mentioned alongside the quotations. And I think so, yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end of this video. And I'll see you guys next time with Birches by Robert Frost. Until then, I'm going to make myself a cup of chai and you all go study.